What's happening, y'all? True Evil here, and today I want to talk about the updates to my progression guide going into launch, because the balance update did change a lot of things. More specifically, it changed who I think is going to be the best selector units, as well as the best SRs to build. Just because all of the mainstay SRs got some shape or fashion of a nerf, as well as the underperforming ones didn't really get a buff. So what that means is we have to be way smarter with our latices to make sure that we're able to push the content up to level 45 and 50 while still being comfortable and being able to do everything and not feeling like that hard wall where it's like, oh, I don't think I can do Hell 3, I don't think I can do Hell 4, and just like you don't want to get your account bricked, because then you're not going to be able to get like certain power-ups like that final matrix. So this is what I think got updated and needs to be addressed the most. So what are the biggest changes that are going to happen? Well, for characters, the SR nerf, the biggest like blanket thing that got changed is turn meter steal. Now some characters aren't going to get affected by this as much as others. For example, Dinah, even though her skill 1 got touched, I'm not really using Dinah for her skill 1, I'm using her for her skill 3 so my DPSs can go ooga booga. And characters like Kraken, he does get some sort of skill percentage down, but none of it is under 50%, so with effect accuracy, he's still going to have the maximum amount of values on his hits, and more importantly, the reduction of 5% on the turn meter like pushback is not going to be significant. Now, characters that are going to be significantly hit are characters like number 41, who had a turn meter advance of 35%. Now it's a 20%, and looking back at some of the content I used number 41 for, she's just not going to be able to do that in game, like push your entire team above the enemy's team in PvP, and she's not going to be as great of a replacement as Chiaki the Echo, which means that now we have to have a priority unit of Chiaki the Echo if you don't have a unit that can turn meter advance out of the SSR category. And because of that, I'm going to say you're going to need 6 purple Latices to really upgrade. And the drawback of this is, right, is with number 41, we can use blue Latices, which means we have even more in that week 1 of purple Latices to divvy up on other characters. And the unfortunate reality of this is we just can't do that anymore. So 6 for Chiaki the Echo, and how this is sort of going to affect me is because Kraken didn't really get hit, I'm still going to level up my Kraken. The one that is going to get touched is my Kazuyo the Reverie. Now, I think I'm going to use Kazuyo for sure for Doki Doki, but the problem is because I have to use those 6 Latices on Chiaki the Echo, I'm going to use Kazuyo the Reverie without any Latices and only upgrade her skill 3 all the way once we get to like Inferno, or I really need it in that Hell 4 and Hell 3. I think her cooldown is going to be perfectly fine on that 4 o'clock reduction with other characters. Now, that's not like ideal, and unfortunately it will make it a little bit harder, so I'm gonna have to like see how it acts, but I just don't think you have the Latices for Kazuyo for the very niche specific role that she does. Now, characters that I don't think are going to get changed is I'm still heavy investing in Gray. Gray is still the truth. And more importantly, what other characters got touched? And Sonya got nerfed. Like, Sonya's, like, how her passive works, it's going to make her look night and day. Now, in Doki Doki, what made her so great is some of those characters can incapacitate you. And now Sonya, if she gets incapacitated, she can't do her heal, which like that is going to affect a lot of people's Doki Doki runs that relied on her, especially if you use Tiamat for that, right? Like, not be able to cleanse your Kraken or Kazuyo or Marvel, not being able to heal, that like it's really scary. Not only that, PvP is going to be even scarier because, like, let's face it, freeze is very scary and oppressive. And the great thing with Sonya is that she can recover from the frozen and then cleanse your other teammates. And the unfortunate reality is everything that made her extremely strong is now gone. So she's not going to be a priority for me anymore. And who is going to be a priority for me is Valerian, because Valerian is just going to shine now, especially because she can't get CC'd while Hazy Dream is going on. So she's still going to be able to farm that Doki Doki modules. She has that cheat death function, which is really going to help in continuous play, especially for those initial Inferno pushes when you're trying to farm those final matrices to make the Inferno pushes easier. And, she's going to be really good in PvP because, she can't get CC'd on that first turn. Like, let's get it. It's going to be great. So I'm going to plan on fully building her for the late game, and I think it's going to be the move. Now, the great thing with her, though, is I only need to upgrade her skill 3 by level 35, and then the other ones are sort of just when I have the resources. Now, going on, what else changed in my guide? Now, a character that really got changed is you don't see Victor anymore. I put Ditting instead, which is a little bit sad, but Victor, because of how much the damage reduction got hit on him, that nerf was super hard. And like going back and like watching videos of like random Victors at full health ulting and one-shotting my full health Tiamat who almost had 70k HP, that's not going to happen anymore. And like, unfortunately, that takes away some of his PvP viability. It takes away like just his general versatility, which is really sad. And I think for that role as a single target DPS, Ditting is just going to outperform him. Now, we do have SSRs that got buffed, and I have no idea why they got buffed, like Chloros. So that's going to make it so if you pull a character like Ditting, maybe like you don't upgrade Ditting or Victor anymore. But, it is what it is. I still think Ditting is better for those like 0 cycle cleaves and like 1 turn wave clears. But, Chloros got buffed, bro. It's a big buff. So, yeah. Talking about that, let's just go to the selector unit now. Now, for selector units, it's going to be really rough, right? Because a lot of things got changed on turn manipulation. So characters that like you didn't think as turn manipulators that didn't get touched are going to be even bigger. And the one I want to point out is Lilith, because Lilith is one of those characters that gives a generic speed down, and because Marvel is not going to be as reliable anymore, Lilith, her skill 2 gives one character a 100% turn meter pushback with her stun, which, it's going to be gross. Like, Lilith is going to be having her stonks up, and she does more damage too. That is going to be huge. So I have her as a possibility on the selector, but she's not a priority on the selector. Who I have as a priority is I still have Rosa as it, but the problem with Rosa is she's going to need max Latisse investment to be able to clear all the content she's great at. And the problem with that is the SRs got hit. So you're going to want to build more SSRs. And because if you're free to play or a light spender, I can't actually recommend you build Rosa, because that means you can only build Rosa all the way and have one fully upgraded skill with another character, which is not a versatile roster, right? So I can only recommend Rosa if you're a spender, and even then, I can't recommend her to a light spender, because she's not going to be as universal unless if you're like a Giga Whale or something like that, which is a sad choice. And, I may not even pull Rosa because of it. It's really going to depend on who I pull. Now, a character that I think is going to be really important for a selector is Tsukio, just because, turn manipulation got hit, so speed increase is going to be more important than ever. And the unfortunate reality with speed increase is the 2 best universal speed increases are going to be with Mio and Lily. And they're like dark units, so you're probably not going to pull them unless if you're going to be sweaty with the re-rolling, or if, it's tough because some people aren't going to be able to reroll because they took advantage of the rebate. I know I took advantage of the rebate, so I'm not going to be able to reroll. And, I definitely want a character that gives my full team speed up. So Tsukio is definitely on the menu if I don't pull Lily, for sure. And, Tsukio is even more like of a general universal unit. Now, with her, you have to max out her skill 3, in my opinion. So that makes it a little bit difficult, but I would be fine upgrading her skill 3 all the way. The problem with it, though, is that if I don't have a character like Lily, then, I'm going to have to be upgrading other characters and have a wider roster. So that means I can't have Rosa in my party, which is a little sad. Now, a unit that this unit is probably going to be the one I use my selector on, if I'm being honest. Rahu got buffed, which that doesn't make any sense to me. Rahu on the final day was just sure PvP god. He was the scariest thing I have ever seen in my life. And he got buffed. Not only did he get buffed, but the only people who were able to do the farthest you could get in Ember Trek, the quickest, they did it with Rahu. Like, Rahu getting buffed is, like, no joke. He is going to be the god of this video game. Rahu is just amazing. I can't stress how strong Rahu is going to be. I'm most likely going to use my selector on him, and, he's going to be bringing the noise. He is just going to be such a great universal pick. Now, the problem with him is he's not like a super strong DPS like Rosa. He's not a speedster like Tsukio. But if you already have all your bases covered, he's just the best unit for just like overall general content. So definitely recommend that Rahu. And I can't stress it. Now, another bruiser that I would recommend is Hellkid. Now, Hellkid is amazing. The problem with Hellkid is he doesn't sort of have a flashy kit, but he's definitely the best red bruiser. And his Shroud Barrier is going to be no joke in PvP, as well as it's going to be really good in certain PvE content. The problem is he's just not going to dish as much damage out as like a character like Leanne or Real Mocha or something like that. So he's just like a sub DPS slash sustain character, but his kit is so crucial for PvP. So I already have Rahu, already have all my bases covered for PvE. I'm pulling Hellkid. And the other characters that I put was Lilith and Klaus. I wouldn't necessarily use them as a selector targets for the other things, but Lilith stonks are definitely up. Klaus is definitely going to be more powerful now since the turn manipulation got touched. And just like, if I need a great CC unit and I feel like Kraken isn't cutting it, I'm going to pull Lilith. If Klaus, I don't feel like I'm using like a unit with speed down enough. I want to have a speed down debuffer, so I'm going to pick Klaus. Now, I would say Lilith is going to be more of a priority for me than Klaus, but I'm still going to have Klaus on this list. And then Klaus might be last on this list because, let's face it, Kloros got buffed, and I don't understand why he got buffed. He was my favorite character during the final test. He was absolutely broken in a lot of content. And if you max out his skill 3, he actually becomes very notable in PvP. I think he's just going to be insane. Yeah, he might actually even be higher on the selector. I just get so hot and heavy when I think of Kloros, bro. He's just so good. I hear the Salvador Bunga and it goes off. So might actually just pull him because I love him so much. But, definitely want him on the list because bro got buffed, and that's going to be really noticeable. Now, how noticeable? We have to wait and see, but he's definitely a sleeper. And the great thing with having him as a DPS for PvP, right, is your opponent is probably going to go for these meta units. So, really strong DPS as 5th pick, that's pretty clutch, especially if you're fighting over units to begin with, like Freya and Kraken and things like that. You have that 5th pick that he probably doesn't have on his account, and that can absolutely decimate. So good thing to know about that. And now the last thing I want to touch on this selector is I didn't put Tiamat. And, some people are going to say that Tiamat didn't get touched super hard. She's still going to be a menace in PvP. And that's true. I think Tiamat is still going to be great in PvP. Is she going to be good in continuous play without that extra additional 20% total heal when she goes in the ultimate? No. Like, she was already a pretty hard character to make it so I could get that 100% clear rate on Doki Doki with her. And now that Sonya got this huge nerf to her kit, I just don't think Sonya Tiamat is going to be enough to survive, especially because she's still going to take that 30% damage from when she uses her skill 3, which I can't prioritize the skill 2. She's just not going to be good at this in-game PvE content, so I can't recommend that. And also for selector unit, she is great in PvP, right? But the problem is everyone kind of has her on that account. So like you're fighting over having Tiamat on your team. You're building a lot of specific units only to buff Tiamat, and it gets kind of a pain, you know. It wasn't that fun, and I would rather have units that stomp the Tiamat than have to deal with that. And a unit that got buffed and is gonna probably smack her around like a wet noodle is Rahu. I'm definitely going to be Rahu gaming over the Tiamat gaming. I would rather have the other two RGB bruisers, which is Rahu and Hellkid, over Tiamat. That's my personal opinion. Now, do I want Tiamat on my account? Absolutely. Do I think she's going to help my account progress in PvE in the same way as Rahu will? Absolutely not. Do I think I had fun using Tiamat during the final test? Absolutely not. So that's all I'm going to say about Tiamat. And then one last thing I didn't really touch about is Viper. And, you know, before I put Viper as a priority character now, and because just of how things got changed up and how, you know, how hard it is to have speed down at the beginning. If you're trying to do Nico Nana at level 35, you're going to want to have a speed up character and you want to have a speed down character. And Viper can fit that speed down for that Nico Nana farming early game, as well as, you know, he didn't get touched, so he's just going to feel good as a debuffer, and I'm totally fine building him at that level 35 early. And, you know, he's going to be great in PvP. He's going to be great in Aurora, more so than a lot of the other dispellers that aren't Heinrich, because, you know, in continuous play, he's going to do his dispel, which is, that's what we want, right? We don't want to manually play these farming stages. So Viper, definitely on the list, definitely going to be huge, especially on my account because I'm going the Bruiser method with Rahu, and Rahu plus Viper is absolutely atrocious, and they didn't get nerfed. So it's even going to be better. So yeah, that's going to be the update for my progression guide. I'm going to post this on the official Etheria restart as well as in my Discord, and feel free to share this document with anyone you think would want it. And that's going to be it for the day. Let me know if this is going to help you at all or change your decision on what you do on launch. See you next time.